So on our final day, we're going to start with a session on reality and interdependence. As His Holiness writes in The Universe in a Single Atom, one of the most important philosophical insights in Buddhism comes from what is known as the theory of emptiness. At its heart is the deep recognition that there is a fundamental disparity between the way we perceive the world, including our own existence in it, and the way things actually are. This session is going to explore reality through the complementary perspectives of Buddhist philosophy and modern quantum physics. While these traditions emerge from very different methods of inquiry, both invite us to question assumptions about permanence, separateness, and the nature of existence itself. And perhaps most importantly, both point toward a deeper recognition of our interdependence. To begin our session, it's my honor to introduce our first presenter, Dr. Mu Chen. Dr. Chen is Associate Dean for Academic Affairs in the School of Physical Sciences and Professor of Physics and Astronomy at the University of California, Irvine. A theoretical particle physicist, her research explores the fundamental building blocks of nature and the origins and evolution of early universe. So please help me welcome Dr. Chen.
All right. Can you hear me? Yes. Great. So Tashi Dilek. It's really a profound privilege to be here as we celebrate the 90th birth anniversary of His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. Just as many of you, I'm also deeply grateful for His Holiness' visions and great compassion that our world today so much needed. I'm also thankful for this opportunity to participate or contribute in this discussion of reality and interdependence together with my Tibetan Buddhist scholar colleagues, Geshe-la and Anila, who is somewhere. And for me, it's through the lens of quantum physics, which is a subject that His Holiness has long been drawing attention as part of a broader inquiry into the nature of reality and the cultivation of wisdom. And before I start, I would also like to thank the ETSI monastic students through whom my understanding of modern physics has deepened significantly. It has been a very rewarding and personally empowering experience to see how much progress and impact the monastic scholars have made, both at their own home monastic university as well as bigger, broader communities. So let's get started. Let's see here. Does that work? So I'm a theorist. Bear with me. Is this working? No. Oh, good. All right, so as Hannah already mentioned, but I would like to just start again just to set the stage. I would like to start with His Holiness' words, and here I quote. One of the most important philosophical insights in Buddhism come from what is known as the theory of emptiness. At its heart is a deep recognition that there is a fundamental disparity between the way we perceive the world, including our own existence in it, and the way things actually are. And this really, profound insight will serve as a thread connecting everything that we will be discussing in the next 90 minutes. I want to go one more slide. Yes, here we are. So modern physics, through very careful experiments and mathematical description, also come to a very similar striking realization. Namely, the world revealed at the deepest levels actually is very different from the world that we experience in our daily life, right? So what you see here, this is a picture of Heisenberg, who in 1925 wrote down the very first complete formulation of modern quantum theory. And later, in 1958, he reflected, and here I quote, "What we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our methods of questioning." Right? So what this is saying is, what we really experience really depends on how we interact, right, with nature. And that sort of also limits, what type of information, what type of knowledge that we can extract through that interaction. And I hope through the next 13, 14 minutes or so, I hope to get that point across. Very good. So let's just set the ground. Our naive perception is set or is shaped by our experiences, which to a very good approximation is described by classical physics. And, oops, what did I do? Good. So classical physics has the following characteristic. First of all, its outcomes are deterministic. And what that means is, if I give you all the causes or conditions, or you give me all the causes and conditions, all right, then as a physicist myself, I can go and predict a definite outcome. So there's just one single definite, outcome, possible outcome. And furthermore, this outcome is independent of whether this process is being observed. Right? And of course, this classical description of nature only works at a scale that is large, like the size of us or an ant, and slow. And by slow, I mean slow compared to the speed of light. All right? And of course, once we get down to the scale of atoms, of elementary particles, which are the fundamental building block of our physical universe, that classical description no longer works, and quantum physics is needed. However, this quantum description of nature, as I will show you later, contradicts with our naive perception, right? And, in contrast to classical physics, where outcomes are deterministic, here the outcomes are probabilistic. All right, so this is a question for you. You can see here I have a laser light source, which shine, streams of photons. And in the middle, you see that a metal sheet that has two thin slits. And beyond that metal sheet, that's a screen, a photographic film. So my question for you is, what do you expect? As I shine the light toward that two slits, what do you expect to observe on the photographic film? And I know there is at least one more physicist here in the room, professional physicists, as well as monastic scholars who might know the answer. So, yes, that sounds good. You can hear me still. Very good. All right, so what do you expect to observe on the photographic film? Anyone? Two dots? Who said two dots? Who agree? Two dots? Yes? Like this? Oh, yeah. All right, I see somebody's shaking your head. All right, so the answer is no, that's not what we would observe. Come on. All right, so experimentally, what we will be what is being observed is the adjacent stripes of dark, bright, dark, bright. All right, and here I show you that picture. You can see that that list of stripes, those dots. Right, so this is very, very different from the predictions that we would use, right, based on classical physics, like our everyday perception. Right, so I think this is a very good sort of illustration about, the reality is really different from how we perceive the world. And I know there's, Geshe-la will later discuss emptiness, and there you will see, another example, right, which is nice to contrast. Okay, and of course, the reason why the observed pattern is so different from our naive perception is the fact that here the pattern actually is due to this particle-wave duality, right? So-called particle-wave duality. The fact that you predict two dots, why do you think so? Right? Because that's from your classical perception. You think, one photon goes through one slit, and, some photon goes to the other slit, and therefore two dots, right? So that's sort of the particle nature. But photons also carry the dual nature, the nature of wave. And one characteristic of wave is that they interfere, right? All right, so here's just some illustration. If I have two waves, which are, of the same shape, the peaks are at the same place, the shrouds are at the same place, then the resulting wave would just be, doubled, right? And conversely, if the peak and the shroud are, at the same place from these two waves, then they cancel, right? So you basically just add them up. And this is a phenomena which is a characteristic of wave, and this is called the superposition. You just add them up. And this leads to something called a wave interference, right? So just like here, I have two dogs, right? They generate two water waves. These two water waves interfere, and create that pattern that you see, right? And likewise here in the monastic classroom, again, you see how that wave interference occur if I have two wave sources. And I will go to skip this because of lack of time. This is fun stuff, but if we have time, we'll go back. But I know I will run out of time. All right, so all is good. But now, if you want to ask, how do we know which slit a particular photon goes through? All right, one can do it. And the way to do it is to put the photo detector at the opening. Right, so suppose, now just think about this experiment. I'm shining the laser, right, that creates a stream of photons. Each photon goes through, when the photon goes through a particular slit, it will hit the detector and register. And therefore, that's a way I know the photon goes through a particular slit. Yes? Does that make sense? Yes. All right. But once you do that, what happened? Once you do that, what you would observe, actually, are the two dots, right? Back to your naive, classical-based or particle-based prediction. Meaning this wave interference pattern got destroyed. All right, and the reason for this is when I ask a question, right, which slit does a particular photon go through? The way I ask this question and the way I answer this question is making use of the particle characteristic of photon, right? Because a photon hits a detector, and the interaction is in the particle picture. And if I ask question this way, in the end, the outcome would manifest the particle feature. And this wave interference pattern just get destroyed. All right. So what is, the bottom line is which aspect manifests really depends on the measurement. Okay. And I'll be quick. And the measurement would alter the system being measured. Right. So outcome depends on the measurement. So there's a very close interdependency between the outcome and the measurement. Another significant conceptual shift in quantum physics is the fact that there is a fundamental limit on how precisely certain properties can simultaneously exist or be defined. And so classically, if I have an object here, if I have a perfect instrument, right, I can measure its position precisely. At the same time, I can measure how fast it is moving precisely. I can do this at the same time to infinite precision if my instrument is perfect, right? But quantum mechanically, what Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is telling us is that position and velocity cannot be known to infinite precision simultaneously. If I know the position to infinite precision, then there's no way I can know the velocity of this particle. And this is not due to the limitation of the instrument, but rather this reflects something intrinsic about quantum reality. So here, just very quickly, this uncertainty actually is very important to our existence. What you are seeing here are the photons, the light that come from 380,000 years after the Big Bang, right? So this is like a baby universe, right? And those colored differences are due to the small fluctuation in the density, and that's due to the quantum uncertainty I just talked about. All right, and causality, I think this we can leave it later because this is very relevant for a scholar. But just to, yes, I'm done. Just leave this here. Niels Bohr's complementarity, which says that no one view of physics reality capture all aspects, and one must take into account many different mutually exclusive, right, wave versus particle, and each offer valid but partial insights. And the way nature reveals itself really depends on how we interact with the system, right? And just to end, just to show this picture, just to show this quote of His Holiness here. Despite of the advancement, intellectual advancement of modern science, one should also keep in mind that inquiry should come from ethical motivation, especially compassion. And there's that universal moral responsibility that everyone should strive for. So I'm going to stop here to Jishe.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. Our next presenter is Geshe Sonam Champel. You met him on the panel yesterday. He's chairperson of the Losling Altruistic Medical Association at Drepung Losling Monastery. Geshe has long engaged in the integration of contemplative wisdom and service and brings deep insight from the Buddhist philosophical tradition to today's discussion. So please join me in welcoming back Geshe Sonam Champel.
Good morning, everybody. I'm super nervous. Yeah. So, before start, I just want to express my gratitude to, of course, His Holiness and the ETSI staff and these lovely professors, because some of them have been, some of us have been studying science. I think it has been around a decade now, more than 10 years, and some of the professors, these lovely professors, were there since the beginning. So I just want to say thank you very much. Not for your expertise, but over the years, they showed us their humanity, their love, their compassion. So thank you very much, everybody. And okay, so I always get very nervous when I give a talk. So when I was preparing for this talk, I talked to some of my friends, and a couple of them said, don't be nervous. Just start with a a joke. And one friend also said, the second friend said the same thing. So I told him that I'm not funny. And that friend told me, then run away. Yeah, I have such nice friends. So later, my go-to I went to ChatGPT. I'm going this talk, and my friend suggested that I should start the talk with a joke, and I was hoping that ChatGPT would be nice and encouraging, but it said, oh, that would be risky. And if the joke falls flat, the atmosphere will be unbearably agonizing. So I got more nervous. So yeah, I'm not going to start this conversation with a joke. So okay, my role today here is supposed to be give a talk about reality and interdependence. But after that wonderful presentation by Professor Muchin, I don't think we need another talk about reality and interdependence. Shall we instead just have a long tea break? I think that, yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, my topic is, as you can see, is interdependence and reality from Buddhist perspective, or from, in general, and from Madhyamika philosophy perspective. So I have a confession to make. Please lower your expectations, because when I was going through these slides again this morning, it didn't feel like a presentation about reality and interdependence. So let's see just how it goes. So in Buddhism, I think from in the Madhyamika perspective, reality, I think this sums up very beautifully. This quote by Ajahn Chandrakirti in his Prasanapada, he says, what are the two truths? And there are the conventional truth and the truth of the world and the ultimate truth. So here in this quote, reality and truth, they are especially in the Madhyamika school, they are interchangeable terms. So in Buddhism, when we talk about, I think when we talk about reality and interdependence, they are actually not two different things. Rather, interdependence itself is the reality of things. So do I make any sense? Okay, please give some notes. Okay. So if interdependence is the reality and it has two different categories or two different reality, we usually talk about two different truths or reality. I think many of you are completely familiar with these things. So if there are some people who are not very familiar, this talk is for them, so for beginners. So usually from Madhyamika perspective, there are we talk about the two realities. One's known as the conventional reality, and the other one is ultimate reality. So the conventional reality is the level of truth or reality at which every conventional things happen, whether it's a causality, action. We talk a lot about action in Buddhist philosophy. We talk a lot about action and agent. All these phenomena happen at the level of conventional reality, right? Also, like the topics we talk about in Buddhism, karma, rebirth, enlightenment, all these categories, when we talk about it, we are only talking about the conventional reality. And so, yeah, This conventional reality is the level of reality at which things appear as solid and distinct and real. But on the other hand, at the level of ultimate reality, which is also known as the emptiness, every phenomenon, whether it's a karma, rebirth, enlightenment, or causality, everything ceases there, right? Everything dissolves. I'm not really now thinking about it. I'm not sure whether it's the right term, dissolution, but everything stops there. Nothing exists at the reality level. Nothing, every action, every function stops there, right? So, am I making any sense here? Okay, so at this level, everything dissolves, and what remains instead is what we call reality or emptiness. And when we talk about these two different levels or two different categories of reality, conventional and ultimate reality, sometimes, especially for people who doesn't have a background of Buddhism, may think these two realities, conventional and ultimate reality, are two very different, unrelated, two different things. But actually, they are not two different things, right? They are not two separated, unrelated things. Actually, I don't know if you can see the, okay. Excuse me, I completely forgot about the preparation of this thing. I'm only thinking about myself, nothing, okay. Okay, if you, I don't know if you can see in the middle of the screen, you will see a very small words, some very small two sides of one coin. So I was trying to point out that these two reality, conventional reality, are not two unrelated, separate things, but they are the two sides of the same coin. So because of that, even emptiness itself is not actually ultimately real. Emptiness itself is empty of intrinsic nature. So because of that, grasping at whether it's emptiness or other conventional phenomena, grasping them as being ultimate real in Buddhism, especially in Madhyamika philosophy, is the root of every problem we face in our lives. Because I think almost everybody is familiar that we talk about the ignorance of reality, right? Which is the misperception or misconception of emptiness or grasping at ultimate realities regarding emptiness and other conventional phenomena. So, therefore, I'm trying to say that these two different levels of truths are not unrelated to different, completely separate things. So that point actually is, if you have already read the what you call it, Heart Sutra. A Heart Sutra, by the way, if any of you is not familiar, is a very short, beautiful, very influential Buddhist sutra teaching by the Buddha. So in Heart Sutra, it was said that form is empty and emptiness is form. Emptiness is the form. This statement is actually saying that conventional reality and ultimate reality are not two different things. They are the same thing. They are the same, the two sides of the same coin. And I need some water because I have a medical condition known as nervousness, I think. So sorry. Yeah, I still have some water.
You seem very nervous. Here's more.
Thank you very much. that's a compassion in practice. So thank you very much. Thank you. So here, this sutra, the sutra's form is empty, emptiness is form. It's actually this statement, as I was trying to point it out, it was saying that this statement is saying that the two truths are identically the same, that conceptually they're two different things. Put it in other words, these two truths have the same nature, but they are only different at conceptual level. So in Tibetan, we have a phrase which is "Ngochigla Dokbatade," which is exactly identically, the translation is identically the same, conceptually different. But if some of you are not familiar and don't understand it, don't worry, because I've been studying Buddhism, I think more than 20 years. I still don't know what do they mean by this statement. I just thought it's a beautiful phrase, so I put it there. So the Heart Sutra was, as I quoted earlier, Heart Sutra says, form is empty, emptiness is form. So the point is that the two truths are not, they have the same nature, but they're only different or distinct at the conceptual level. In other words, I have only two minutes. Wow. I need 22 more minutes now. Okay, so the two truths are not two different things. They're the same thing here. So I need to skip lots of. Okay, I can skip that one. I can skip that one too. Skip that one too. Cause skip that one too. Don't worry. Let me go back a little bit about. Okay. Okay. So the point was, I was trying to say that the reality interdependence. Interdependence is, there are three different layers of interdependence. So how do we put the different concept into a practice? So let me talk only about this point now. So how do we this concept of three layers of interdependence, emptiness helps us in fighting against our negative emotions, right? So let's see, if you have a person who is difficult or who makes you angry in your life, I don't think you do have that. I have plenty of them. So if you do have one, just try to observe or see them through these three different layers of what you call it, interdependence. That I promise that it will help you to calm yourself down, and you will be able to see that person in a totally different way. So it actually helps me. I promise that I will help you. If you don't have someone who makes you angry, you can just find a monk who gives a very boring presentation about reality and interdependence. So okay, I will talk later about some points I want to share, but we have the panel discussion. The time is up, and I just want to show just a few seconds, because this right now, it doesn't make any sense, but when I was preparing for this presentation, I thought we have monks and nuns, my fellow monks and nuns who have been studying science. I've been very passionate about coming up with an equation of emptiness, interdependence. So it's a proposal to my fellow monks and nuns, doing it on do we need an equation of emptiness, interdependence? Would it be helpful? If so, what would it be like? So I will discuss with them later individually, and I was also discussing this with Professor Muchin, and she would also help us to come up with a beautiful equation of emptiness and interdependence that will hopefully help many people to understand, to make this concept more accessible to many people. So I just stop here because of time. Thank you very much for your. This is
Thank you, Geshe-la. I don't know about you all, but our expectations were exceeded with both your wisdom and humor. I love the idea of this emptiness equation. That would be a wonderful next feat for ETSI if that does happen. Okay, so I'll invite our panelists up, Mu-Chen, Ani Cho-young, and Sandula. So we're welcoming back Dr. Mu-Chen, Geshe Sompel. And to guide this conversation, we're also honored to have Sandhu Sompel serving as chair. You all met him yesterday and know him well, but I'll just say again that he's co-director for the Sea Learning Program and a senior translator for the Emory Tibet Science Initiative at the Emory Compassion Center. And we're also joined again by someone else you met yesterday, Venerable Tenzin Choyang. She's a science teacher and former Tenzin Gyatso science scholar from Jiangchu Choling Nunnery. So they will go for our panel discussion, and we'll end at about 12:45. Thank you.
It's good. Okay.
I feel like I need a joke now. Good afternoon. So happy to see you all. Hello? Yeah, okay. So in the tradition of Sea Learning and CBCT, I would like to invite you for a brief moment to reflect on a best or a good moment from this morning, okay? Or maybe from the last 2 days. And then choose a moment and try to recall as vividly as possible that moment, okay? What was that moment? What were the emotions that you experienced in that moment? Perhaps it was a moment of joy or happiness, or a moment where you felt a deep sense of safety, maybe companionship or friendship or kinship. I've been feeling these last 3 days. So, try to connect with that moment as clearly and as vividly as possible. And as you do so, see if you notice anything shifting within you, in your feelings, in your emotions. And, whatever emotions that are rising, if that's an emotion that you appreciate, then I invite you to sit with that emotion for a moment, for a few seconds. Thank you. How are you feeling now? Feeling better? hopefully. Wonderful, thank you. So, this is how easy it is for us to make ourselves happy or joyful, right? We don't need, a lot of things. Just connecting with the moment where we have felt safe can bring that sensation, can bring that emotion in us, right? So it's not very difficult for us to be happy in some sense, right? Now I want to invite you, if you are comfortable, you may close your eyes, but imagine holding a fresh lemon, okay? Notice its bright color, bright yellow color, perhaps the smooth yet slightly bumpy texture. Now imagine cutting it open and then smelling the sharp citrus scent. Now imagine taking a bite, a big bite. What changes did you notice? I see a lot of people swallowing. So this is how easy for us to shift our sensation, right? For us to generate sensation. Of course, we need to know how to do these, right? And hopefully in our discussion, some of these methods will come up, right? So what is happening here, right? When we are connecting, to that moment, or when we are visualizing, that squeezing that lemon into our mouth, right? Are we in touch with reality? What kind of reality are we in touch that can move us, right? That can bring such shifts within us? I believe, it is some form of inner reality, inner experience. But reality, of course, is understood in different ways, different cultures and different ways of thinking. Philosophical systems have different way of understanding and interpreting reality, right? So there are superficial reality, that may be apparent to us, and there are, reality that are deeper, that would need probing in order for us to access them, right? So my first question to the panelists, and I pose this question to all three of you because I would like to, myself personally, but I'm sure everyone here would like to know, how you understand this question, right? So, what is reality for you? Okay, so Angela, you want to start?
Okay, good morning. Happy to see you again from the stage. It's a big question, right? Reality. What is reality? It's also hard to say, this is reality. Through my experience, so, we many of us, came from Tibet. I think everything, sometimes people, projecting that every Tibetan have a really good understanding of Buddhist philosophy and Buddhism, but that's not all the time true. I grew up in Tibetan family and came to India, don't have that much idea what Buddhist philosophy is. And then, we first got teaching from His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, and during the teaching, from the beginning of the teaching, His Holiness was teaching how important to meditate on emptiness 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the evening. So this was homework of the teaching. He was teaching about the Shantideva, the book Bodhisattva Way of Life. So at that time, I have immediately the question how to meditate on emptiness, the reality of the existence, dependent origination. But it took, for me to understand what really the emptiness or the reality of the existence for many years. So I'm not making you guys, harder, but, it's really hard to understand the reality. It's not something we can point out, and this is reality. So for me, when it comes to the reality, especially in the Buddhist tenets, we have 4 tenets. It's talking about the true truth, or the conventional truth, and then ultimate truth, conventional reality or like ultimate reality. So the two reality, each tenet has this different explanation and then different, examples. So I have a long question, how those differences come up? It's within in the many scholars, right? First tenet scholars mention one, and second one, and third one. Then what is reality? Which ways I have to go and to accept which is the reality? So yes, so most of the, the earlier tenets, the lower tenets, in the Buddhism, we say it's a step to the, to know the ultimate reality of Asanka view. So what I'm thinking is the ultimate reality is so I think so so right now what I'm thinking is reality is the true nature of the existence phenomena. And so what we call is emptiness. Emptiness or the dependent origination. So now I have a question, why is reality or the true nature of the existence? So for this, what I'm always thinking, and also in the Buddhism, we have this saying, Negya Menjik. Negya Menjik means a remedy for all the disease of mental affliction. So how this can be a single remedy for all the, mental affliction, the disease of mental affliction. So it kind of makes sense. We have to, when we think, for example, all the mental affliction arises from ignorance or self-grasping to the inherent existence. So, but it's important to how can we know this one? So that's why what I'm thinking is, so not my thinking, but in the Tibetan Buddhist philosophy, it's saying that the Che Tsongkhapa is the great master, to pointing, to elaborately explaining the interdependence through his 5 treatises on the view, especially on the view. And among them, also he precisely explained how important to recognize the object of negation. So, if we really want to understand the reality of emptiness, we have to know what is the object of negation. So, object of negation is a false picture on what we, false picture, what we are perceiving. So for this, I think we have to study a little bit about the mental factors and consciousness and mind and how mind works. So for here, already Gensendula mentioned about the lemon, what we are picturing the lemon, lime, and the yellow color and like bubbling something. So we have to recognize what we are perceiving and then capture the picture and then to see how it looks like. It is existed what I perceived. Again and again, and through logic. And then when you see that object not exist as you perceived, because when we perceived, we see it inherent existence, exists by itself. But in the reality, it's not in that way. It's really dependent on other, 100%, interconnected. So this is what I'm saying is, but, like the conventional level is functioning, but when it comes to the true nature, it not exist what we perceived. So what I'm thinking is the reality is this one. At that point, that everything in this world not existed by itself. It's dependently, existence. This is what I'm perceiving the reality.
Thank you so much. I mean, the question is really a deep question, a philosophical question. But I really appreciate the kind of the foundation, that is needed in order for us to, address this kind of question and get to the, bottom of it. Next, Michin and Sonamla, when this kind of questions is raised, of course, there are many ways of looking at it. I would like to invite you to share, how as a person and as a physicist you understand reality. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Michin?
All right. So as a physicist, and that's actually the reason why I go into theoretical particle physics, is reality to me is, at the most fundamental level, how the universe came about, how all the physical phenomena arise from, right? And being a theorist, usually this is described by equations. The simpler the equation, the better, right? So we have this notion of simplicity as what's the word? It needs to be beautiful, simple, and that give rise to this organization principle from which all physical phenomena arise. But as I study more quantum physics, and I think this is true for many other physicists as well. So this is actually a sort of a increasing. There have been increasing interest in this. Is in the end, it may be about what type of information we can extract, rather than reality itself, right? Meaning, we may not have the capability to know all aspects of reality. And that's tying to this measurement, right? Because the way that nature reveals itself really depends on how we probe it, how we ask a question, how we do the measurement.
Thank you. You give us a number.
Okay. Reality to me, this is not a joke. Reality is something that makes me happy. I really think so. Because reality, the reality of me being still alive after that 50 minutes makes me relaxing and makes me feel good, right? Actually, I was trying to make the point that many of the times in our lives we suffer because of not being able to realize the reality of our life. For example, when I think someone makes me angry, right? Many of the times it's not because that someone did something or said something that actually is not what makes me angry. In reality, it could be that I myself is in very stressed because of I'm preparing a talk or because something different, very different thing going on in my life. So even that the other person is trying to be nice and doing something nice to me could trigger anger in me. So, but not being able to see that situation, the bigger picture, makes me suffer, makes me suffocated because of with those different emotions. So, by the realization of those situations and those bigger picture, is kind of really liberating for us. So reality is, I really think that it's something that's liberating, something that makes me relaxing. Yeah, that's my point.
Thank you so much. This is quite profound. I've hardly ever look at reality that way. Of course, for Buddhists and Buddhist practitioners, understanding reality, the ultimate goal is to liberate oneself and others. The larger goal is to bring happiness in your life and in others' life, right? By perceiving reality. We do not see the world as it is, right? We see it through some form of lens, and Geshe Sonamla was mentioning some of those lenses, right? When you are, in particular emotion, when you are experiencing particular emotion, you see things differently, right? That is the lens that you are using and looking at the world and seeing the world in a different color, right? And that lens could be your memory. It could be a traumatic experience that you have. It could be your culture, right? And also your expectations. I remember this beautiful line by Mary Oliver. I often quote this. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, right? If we know how to shift that lens, right, then the beauty is out there. And beauty is right here. We are surrounded by beauty. We are surrounded by goodness, right? We are surrounded by constructive things, beneficial things, right? All we need to learn is change the lens, right? So the world offers itself to your imagination, right? If we can shift that imagination, then we can change the world. We don't have to, go out externally to do that. So this brings up, I think, Michin, you have that in your slide, the disparity between what we observe and what actually is, right? And the quotation from His Holiness, I would like to quote again. One of the most important philosophical insights in Buddhism comes from what is known as the theory of emptiness. At its heart is the deep recognition that there is a fundamental disparity between the way we perceive the world, right, including our own existence, and the way things actually are, right? So I want you to keep this phrase, the way things actually are, right? And Heisenberg, right, also said that what we observe is not the nature itself, right, but the nature exposed to the method of our questioning, right? So in some sense, both of them are saying that, the actuality is, kind of inaccessible to us to some ways, right, to a certain extent. But in Buddhism, of course, the fundamental understanding is not that. Fundamental understanding is that the actuality can be perceived. I think this is one fundamental difference between physics and Buddhism, right? Where in physics, it seems like you can never, know, the ultimate actuality or reality, right? In Buddhism, that is what we are striving for. That insight is what we are striving for, and that is what liberates us, right? So, so my next question is, how do we know reality? Okay, what tools do we need to know the reality? What are some of the tools that are available to us, right? As we are, what are the tools that are available to us that we can use to probe that reality? Anicayala mentioned about meditation, right? She also mentioned about logic, right? So these are some of the tools, identified in Buddhism as important tools to probe that reality. And then, Professor Muchun Ten, mentioned about equation, and of course there are some other tools. So, this question may be to you, and Geshe Sonamla. How do we know reality, and what are tools that are needed, and what tools are available to us right now?
Okay. Yeah, one thing that comes to my mind is that when we talk about reality, especially in a Buddhist text, we talk about shamatha and vipassana, right? So I'm not going to talking about them, but just making the point that vipassana is the wisdom that sees the reality, right? Mm-hmm. So, what tools? What do we need to at the very beginning to explore to see the reality? I think the most important at the beginning, the most important thing is to train the mind to have a calm mind. Without a calm and a very stable mind, it's impossible to see the reality, whether it's a deeper level as realities they talk about in quantum physics or reality of emptiness. No, not only the deeper level, but in our everyday life, without a calm and a stable, single-pointed mental attitude, I think it's very difficult to see, to observe reality. So my point is, I think it's the most important thing to have a calm mind that's not distracted for the exploration of reality.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Michun?
Yes, so from the perspective of physicists, there are various tools. We do experiments, right? That's the thing to sort of verify the theory and really probe reality that way. There are, for example, particle collider in Switzerland. It's the highest energy collider. There's neutrino experiment. There are also experiments, just a tabletop, right, in the lab. And on the theoretical side, we have the tool of mathematics, and symmetry is a very important concept. And of course, combining mathematics and logic, and also new ideas, That's how one can construct new theory that can be tested. And by verifying the theory, that sort of gets us closer to what we consider as physicists as reality. And I think this new ideas part, that's where the creativity come in. And I just want to mention that there have been a few examples, excellent examples, where the Buddhist philosophy actually inspire, give rise to these new ideas based on which the theoretician come up with theory. So, for example, the cyclic universe. I think this is a very, very well-known example for that.
Okay, thank you so much. So these are some of the tools, and most of our colleagues here know that how important it is to have stable and clear attention. We cultivate that in CVCT in module 2, right? And also in C-learning, right? In the framework, attention and self-awareness is at the very top of the grid of C-learning component, right? So these tools are really important if the reality that you are trying to understand is within you. If a reality that you want to shift is within you, right? These are the tools. And of course, there is an external reality for which we would need these instruments, equipment, and mathematics is a language that has been developed to support that. Of course, we look around the room and we see a lot of things, but in terms of percentage, how much do we see? Right? If we look around the room, do we see 50%? Less than that? 10%? Right? 1%? What does this mean? It means that a lot of things are inaccessible to us, right? We feel like, oh, I'm seeing everything, right? But is that really the case? No, right? So a lot of things are invisible to us, and we go through our life, like that, it may not affect us most of the time, but then there are critical times when it does, right? How you see someone else, affects how you feel and what comes out of you, right? So in C-learning and in secular ethics, of course, His Holiness has identified, right, 2 pillars. One is the, understanding or recognizing and appreciating common humanity, and then the other one is gaining insight into interdependence, right, and then appreciating it, right. These are not visible as it is. These are not sensory objects, right. So we need to use our mental faculty to understand that, right? So earlier, Anila was talking about, Anichayang was talking about logic, reasoning, right? So these are some of the tools that we can use, right, to probe those that are invisible to our senses, right? So, there's a beautiful, a story or a story shared by Feynman, right? Feynman was asked, someone remarked that when we look, an ordinary person look at this flower, we enjoy it, its color, its scent, and so on. But a scientist would come and dissect it and cut it open and so on, and therefore the beauty disappears. And Feynman said, of course, the beauty that is accessible to ordinary people is accessible to the scientists as well. But then when science goes deeper, a lot of beauty comes out, right? The fact that, the colors, the fact that these flowers have color, indicates that the insects, the pollinators, are able to see that, right? Able to, make meaning out of it and then land there, right? And then even, dissecting opens up, a beauty at a more microscopic level, right? So my question here is, right, why is it important, and I would like to pose this to you first, why is it important for us to know reality? Why is it important for you to meditate on emptiness? Why did you take that as a serious assignment and then you engage in it? Why was that important?
Okay, again, a hard question. Today, come here to test, Yes, it is a very hard question. Okay. So, as I mentioned a little bit what the word saying in the Buddhist tradition, so emptiness, understanding the emptiness is considering that one single nectar for all the disease, that what I'm saying is mental afflictions. So all mental afflictions arises from the ignorant. So the ignorant that not knowing the reality. So I really wanted to add a little bit, the previous question, how to understand the reality. So for this also we have one saying that Uma is middle way, or the understanding of the emptiness. So, Komne means you know the reality through meditating. And then when it's question come to what meditating, right? What kind of meditation? Then we have two meditation. One is single-pointed meditation. One is analytical meditation. So the single-pointed, so in this way, we need both. The single-pointed meditation as a foundation, like calm mind, calm your mind, as again Sonamla mentioned. And then on top of this, so we need the analytical meditation. So then again a question, what analytical meditation? So this is again Shirab Kalaw.
Three understandings.
Oh, three
levels of understanding.
Oh, so in the
understanding derived from hearing, understanding derived from reflection or contemplation, and understanding derived from meditation.
So we have three wisdom, that understanding from hearing, understanding from reflecting and analyzing, and then understanding from meditation. So there are three levels of understanding. So what we need, except to read out the object of negation and understand the emptiness, is understanding through meditation. So the wisdom, realization of wisdom, so genuine understanding of emptiness. So for this, we need the cause of understanding through analyzing and reflecting. For this, we need the understanding of hearing. In Tibetan, we call Tuchungi Shira. So, in terms of understanding the reality, we have to study about the philosophy in the four tenets, and especially the tenets of Madhyamika. And then through this understanding, the wisdom of through hearing,
Yes.
It's saying less talk because the mic. No. So these three wisdom, right? So if we have the wisdom of understanding the reality, then we really gain the genuine kind of understanding how we depend on other. How we depend on other. And then from this level, we can see how important is other than ourselves. From this level, we can put everything for others. Our beauty, our wealth, even our life. So in the Buddhist Sattva practice, there are many histories that Buddhist Sattva, sacrifice their life, give their body for others, give their wife for others, give their family for others. So this kind of strength, big strength, we call it bodhicitta mind. So the action is sometimes calling great compassion. So because of that, how it's important to understand the reality in terms of practicing the bodhicitta mind or the great compassion.
Thank you. So, in some sense, we are straddling two worlds, right? When it comes to His Holiness, His vision, His thinking, we are always straddling two worlds. One world where he is the religious leader, and ideals like these are so important, and also reality to a large extent. On the other hand, the world, and the other world is the secular world, where secular ethics is important, where religious ideals may not make sense to a lot of people, right? But reality, supersedes both of them, right? Overlaps on both of them. There's this beautiful line from a sutra. It's called Rice Seedling Sutra, where Buddha says, "Whoever sees dependent arising sees the Dharma, or the ultimate reality. Whoever sees the Dharma sees the Buddha," right? Meaning that, if you open up your mind and your heart, right, to the possibility that things are deeply interconnected, then you can access, right, what is the reality. And if you are able to access that, then your heart and mind will be open to such an extent that all the cognitive distortions can slowly fade away, right? And then one can access that, even that the highest goal, or the ultimate goal, according to this world, right? So Buddhahood is the the thing that we aspire to, and that too for the benefit of others. There is a line from, I think it was attributed to Einstein: "Reality is merely an illusion, although a very persistent one," right? But I think this may be a paraphrasing of what Einstein actually wrote. He wrote a letter to a friend who was grieving, in which he mentioned that people like us who believe in physics know that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion, right? So, this idea of illusion, meaning that what we are seeing may not be the right one, right, is evident in most of the important cultures, most of the cultures that have strong philosophy. Russell Ackoff, who is a systems thinker, I really appreciate this line from him, that the worldview that we have is the cement that holds culture together, right? It characterizes what the historians call an age, right? So, our worldview, although we may not pay attention to it, is in some sense, molding us, right? Our emotions, our feelings, our relationship, and so on, right? So, it seems so important for us to know reality and then how it can impact us. So, my question, we have about 10 minutes, so I would like to ask the panelists to give brief answers because I want the audience to think about this question themselves. Okay, so how do we connect insights into reality with ethics, right? How can we use insights into reality to change ourselves, to make ourselves better, right? So that our value system shifts, so that we can deeply resonate with the sentiments of this beautiful short poem from Emily Dickinson. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain, right? So for me, if I can stop one heart from breaking, of course, that would be my daughter and my wife, of course, and now, all of you, right? All of you are my family. I really feel deeply for you. So, if I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain, right? So, how can we make our insight into reality, right? Bring this shift in us, right? So that the way we feel, the way we relate to others, the way we act, shifts, gets transformed. And one quick thing that I would like to mention here earlier, His Holiness was, at the end of the audience, he was saying that we need to embody, right? We need to embody the values that we teach, right? That we, help others learn, right? Because, transformation, unless that transformation happens, then value is just an empty word. And, what Anichanla mentioned about these three levels of understanding in C-learning and CBCT, that is the pedagogical model that we use to get to that embodied understanding, right? So, why, how do we connect insight, right? So that, the way we are changes, right? You want to go first?
Yeah, so Tsandula and Anila just said what I wanted to say.
Oh, I see, sorry.
But what I want to add is that, as physicists, right, we have this sort of the seed is there. We know there's a disparity between what we perceive and the real world. But physicists are not more ethical, right? So I think that's that internalization, that reflection that is lacking, right? So in order to have that transformative effect, I think more reflection, more internalization is needed.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. So before that, let me make a step.
Sure.
Because earlier I was trying to be funny because I always have a theory, right? The theory is that every conference or gathering, a conference, meaningful, serious conference like this one, should have a clown, right? So I was trying to be the clown of this conference earlier.
Thank you for that.
To the question Tundela asked, I was thinking while Tundela was talking about, I was thinking about Christopher Koch, one of the neuroscientists who is one of the leading experts on consciousness, right? I remember reading an article by him, and he was saying that one day he was sitting in his house with his wife, just a normal day, or a Tuesday or something like that, and he wasn't thinking about compassion or suffering of insects and bugs. So he was saying that while he was sitting there, a bug, a housefly, or a wasp, something flew from outside into the room, and his wife tried to kill that bug, but unconsciously he said to his wife, "Do not harm that wasp, that bug." it was very natural, unconscious. Then later he thought about that, and he said he was really, really surprised by that event, that small event. Because for his whole life, he said he didn't thought about the reality of the suffering and compassion towards the reality of the suffering that insects could
Experience.
It's okay. You can just hold it. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. His whole life, he said he never thought about the reality of insects and wasps having suffering, and never thought about being compassionate towards them. So he said he had a fundamental change in his attitude towards those
Living
insects
beings,
or those animals. So my point here is that observing or seeing the reality of different, in this case, the reality of animals, insects having the suffering, or that from our part to. Hello, are we still okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, go
So
on.
my point is that seeing the reality gives a fundamental change in our attitude, in our behavior to our world around us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thanks so much.
For me, it comes up my mind immediately. The best example is His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. You know, I came
You are testing my skill as a translator.
So,
As someone who's friend to everyone, including the strangers.
so it's come to my mind, like His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama. Pretty much every one of us have seen many of his, visit to many places. When he visit to the places, right? Whenever he sees a human being, for him, everyone like a already all known, friend. So how this attitude come up? So we Tibetan call Madibin Zashi Chembo. That means the friend, great friend to everyone, without knowing them. So this is what I'm thinking is the insight of reality, change our daily behavior, grounding yourself lower, and other putting before yourself.
Thank you so much. One of the skills of a facilitator is time management. And I'm always bad at it, but Penny showed me 2 minutes, and I think I should be able to finish in 2 minutes. So I would like to thank the 3 panelists here, for your knowledge, for your wisdom, and most importantly for sharing your experience. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Dalai Lama Trust, our center, my wife who coordinated everything, and above all of you, right? This conference would not have happened without you, right? Without your efforts throughout the world, making changes. First thing that His Holiness mentioned this morning is that how much he appreciates, right, what you are doing. The change that you are bringing, positive change that you are bringing in, thousands, even millions of people's lives, right? But that change must come from within us, right? And once again, we come back to that right? Embodied understanding, embodied knowledge, where our values are embodied. And since it's raining, I want to quote this and then end our session with this. As rain does not break through a well-thatched house, right? This is a well-thatched house and rain is not breaking. Passion or afflictive emotions will not break through a well-trained mind. This is from Dhammapada, and I want to end this session with this quote. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandula. I won't synthesize any more than that. That was a beautiful way to end this session. So I do want to share that after you have lunch today, you're all invited to tour the Library and Archive Museum. It's on this floor, just across the hall from where we are. And there'll be guides around the museum to answer questions and show you around a little bit. And to prepare for that, we're going to watch a brief video to orient anyone. But after that video, I'll come back and share some details about lunch, because as Sandhu said, the current nature of our reality is that it's raining. So we are going to come back. I'll come back after and share some details about how we're going to change lunch. But first, well, Tashi.
The Dalai Lama Library and Archive is driven by enduring aspiration to preserve the teachings and discourses by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. It is aimed at conserving documents, awards, and various media-related materials. This grand archive building is designed to make these invaluable resources accessible for learning, research, and for future generations to explore. It serves as a repository for enduring records, safeguarding His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's legacy for posterity.
Physical materials like element of wind, the element of earth.
The construction of the Dalai Lama Library and Archive began in the year 2017 with a determination to create a space that would honor His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's contributions and provide a platform for continued engagement with his work.
Huge gap, rich and poor, national level, or global level.
However, the world was struck by the unprecedented coronavirus pandemic, causing a temporary halt in the construction progress. In the year 2020, the construction work on the Dalai Lama Library and Archive resumed. After years of dedication and meticulous planning, on the 6th of July 2022, the Dalai Lama Library and Archive was inaugurated, marking a significant milestone in preserving and sharing His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's legacy to the world. The building stands as a symbol of reverence for His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's teachings and his accomplishments, a physical manifestation of the collective efforts to ensure the endurance of his messages. The Dalai Lama Library and Archives architecture embodies the essence of its purpose. Careful consideration has been given to an environment that prioritizes preservation and accessibility. Comprehensive preservation systems have been put in place, overseeing temperature, humidity, lighting, and security measures to protect the invaluable contents housed within its walls. These measures protect the invaluable documents, awards, and various media-related materials, ensuring their longevity and availability for future generations. Within the Dalai Lama Library and Archive, the preservation and organization of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's tangible and intangible works are meticulously curated across its multiple floors and sections. Ground floor, teaching compilation and editing section. This section is dedicated to transcribing His Holiness the Dalai Lama's teachings and carefully proofreading and publishing them in various languages. It serves as a hub for the dissemination of His Holiness's wisdom through written publication. Audio-visual section. Within this department, we manage the broadcast and telecast of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's teachings through various media channels. Our team oversees the quality and distribution of audio and video recordings. We facilitate simultaneous translation during temple teachings by providing a dedicated translation booth for different languages. Additionally, our department includes dubbing studio. This studio is used for audio dubbing, enabling voice recordings to be replaced or enhanced for language adaptation, improved quality, or audio correction, ensuring accurate communication of the teachings. Photo-video studio. This studio serves as a recording space for esteemed teachers and scholars. It is also equipped for taking photographs of oversized documents and thangka paintings. Audio-visual room. This multifunctional space is used to showcase important messages on global issues by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. This also serves as a workshop room for discussion and presentations. First floor, data entry section. Documents from the office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama are formally transferred to this section. Trained clerks meticulously inspect and digitize the documents, uploading them into the database for easy access and efficient management. This digitization process ensures the preservation and accessibility of the records in a digital format. Archive room. The archive room serves as a controlled environment equipped with dehumidifiers and air conditioning to preserve the original records of various media. It is divided into two distinct rooms, each catering to different aspects of preservation and access: the paper archive room and the digital archive room. Digital archive room. All media-based articles such as old cassettes, video file system, and photographs are archived and kept here for preservation. Paper archive section. Archivists meticulously organize and catalog the documents, ensuring their long-term integrity and protection against deterioration. Acid-free boxes are utilized to store and safeguard the valuable paper records, preventing damage caused by light, humidity, and other environmental factors. Library. The library houses an extensive collection of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's works, including books authored by him and books written about him and his teachings. This section is a treasure trove for researchers, scholars, and enthusiasts who seek to delve deeper into His Holiness's wisdom. The library has gathered publications in 54 different languages, offering a comprehensive resource for studying His Holiness's teachings. Second floor, Conference Hall. The conference hall provides a space for gatherings, seminars, and discussions centered around His Holiness's teachings. It serves as a venue for intellectual exchange and collaboration among scholars, researchers, and practitioners who wish to further explore and disseminate His Holiness's wisdom. Award Gallery. In the Award Gallery, honorary degrees, citizenships, awards, and other prestigious honors bestowed upon His Holiness are proudly displayed. This section celebrates and acknowledges the recognition and appreciation His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama has received throughout his life, reflecting his profound impact on the society. In its gallery, it proudly showcases a collection of some of the world's most prestigious awards, including the Nobel Peace Prize, Templeton Prize, Ramon Magsaysay Award, the United States Congressional Gold Medal, and many more. The Dalai Lama Library and Archive represents a holistic approach to preserving His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's legacy. By transcribing, digitizing, archiving, and curating his teachings, documents, awards, and endowments, the archive building ensures the perpetuation and accessibility of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's profound wisdom and message for generations to come. It stands not only as a physical structure, but as a beacon of inspiration, a place where His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's teachings and contributions are cherished and perpetuated. It represents a collective commitment to preserving our cultural heritage, acting as a bridge between the past and the future.
Thank you. So please enjoy looking around after lunch. So for lunch, we'll be eating in the same places that you did the first day, except if you were eating outside, they've miraculously moved all of the tables and food so quickly down into the library, which is on the second floor. We think most people will be able to fit there. But if not, I'm hearing there may be some overflow in the lobby. First floor. Yeah, ground first, second, okay, first floor. So one level down from where we are now. Okay, thank you. We'll be back quickly. So we're starting at 1, beginning at 1:45 as you're finishing lunch. Please go ahead and start your tour, and then we'll come back at 2:45 and start right then. Okay, thank you.